Hi there, my name is Sandra Wilson and I am a clinical hypnotherapist who specialises in working with extreme sensitivity to noise, and this includes the sound of barking dogs, neighbour noise, snoring, and even classic misophonia mouth sounds, including the sound of other people breathing, chewing or speaking. Now in this video I'm going to be talking more specifically about the sounds of dogs barking and the incredibly triggering effect it can have on many people, and I hope that it will make sense to you. So if you yourself recognise this, I really hope this video is going to be helpful. So if the sound of a neighbour's dog barking sends you from calm to absolute fury in the matter of seconds, you may have wondered, what is going on? Why am I reacting so strongly to this? Maybe you've noticed other people, perhaps people you live with, they barely seem to notice it, or it's just more like a minor annoyance. But you notice not only when the dog is barking, but you start to feel this incredible level of anxiety when you think about the possibility the dog's going to bark. You might find yourself listening out for the next bark, becoming increasingly tense, unable to concentrate on your work, or perhaps if you're watching a movie. Maybe you feel as though you just cannot relax no matter where you are in your home or garden. And if that does sound familiar, there may be more going on than just reacting to that sound, that bark. So for some people with misophonia or extreme sound sensitivity, one of the things that makes barking so difficult is the feeling of having absolutely no control over it, and it is often quite unpredictable as well. And I want to just explain why that matters. So it's not just the sound, even though many of my clients have said it is the sound. It's not just the sound, it is what the sound represents. So the trigger is the sound of the dog barking. But I've worked with many people who have extremely strong reactions to many different sounds, particularly things like neighbour noise and barking dogs. And something very interesting is going on beneath the surface. Your brain is not just responding to the acoustic properties of the bark, of the noise, it's responding to the meaning you've given it. And this can be subtle and yet extremely powerful. So just imagine you're sitting at home, maybe reading a book or watching a movie, maybe getting on with some work. All of a sudden you hear that bark, your body reacts, and almost immediately thoughts can spiral. Oh no, here we go again. How long is it going to last? Why don't they do something about that dog? I can't get away from this. These people are just incredibly selfish. Why are they leaving a dog tied up in the yard, etc., etc.? And now you're not simply hearing a dog. Your nervous system is dealing with unpredictability, frustration, and a lack of control. And control matters simply because our nervous systems like to be in control, because they like things to be predictable. And if somebody said to you, there's going to be some drilling next door between 10 and 11 this morning, you're not going to love it, but you know what it is, you know why it's going to happen, and you know roughly when it's going to stop, so you can adapt or just go somewhere else for an hour. Barking is very different because you know that it could happen, you just do not know when. You don't know whether there's going to be one bark or a succession of around 50 barks. You don't know whether it's going to come back later, and you cannot make it stop. Well, you could, but it might end up in a very unpleasant altercation. And that sense of helplessness can be very activating to the nervous system. So your brain might start listening to it. And this is where things can get very difficult. And after enough experiences of being distressed by the barking, your brain can start to try to protect you even more by monitoring, and it's quiet in your home now, but you may notice yourself sitting and waiting. Is the dog outside? Was that a bark? Are the neighbours going out? I thought I heard their door. And you might start to feel tense even when it's, like I said before, very quiet. And this is called hypervigilance. Your brain's essentially learned, I need to keep listening because something unpleasant or dangerous could happen at any moment. So a cycle starts to develop. Barking, stress response, anger, listening for more barking, increased tension physically, and an even stronger reaction to the next bark. And that's why telling yourself to just ignore it can be so hard, because your brain is not wired to ignore what it perceives as a threat. It is actively searching for it. And there's another layer that I think is also quite important. You might notice that building work doesn't trigger you in the same way, or even traffic, or maybe a dog barking in the distance while you're on holiday doesn't bother you particularly, but the neighbour's dog, the dog that's been chained up in the yard. Because when your brain has attached a meaning to that sound, it adds another layer of things that you're resisting or fighting against. They are inconsiderate. They shouldn't leave their dog barking. Why should I have to put up with this in my own home? The barking is no longer simply a sound. It represents intrusion, unfairness, injustice, powerlessness. Not to mention the fact that, you may have an issue with the fact that it's cruel for somebody to leave their dog barking. So your nervous system suddenly mobilizes against all of those things, and it feels so powerful. So what can you do? The answer isn't to pretend that you like barking. It isn't to pretend that you're going to just suddenly start accepting all these selfish people. And it isn't telling yourself that inconsiderate noise is perfectly acceptable. You can still have boundaries. You can still speak to your neighbours, of course, or take practical steps. But alongside that, we start working with the nervous system and your internal response in the work that I do with my clients. And a useful starting point is simply notice what actually happens in my body when I notice the bark, and what story does my mind tell me about it. Whether it's I can't cope, it's going to be happening all day long, I'm trapped. Becoming aware of the sequence can sometimes help you to separate the actual sound from everything your nervous system has learned to associate with it. So when you're triggered, rather than desperately trying to make yourself calm by forcing it, you might start to notice something pretty simple. I can't control when the dog barks, but I can help my nervous system to come back down afterwards. So what you're doing really is looking for the physiological signs that you're starting to calm down. And that's a very different kind of control, because there are things you can do. It's just not immediately obvious when you've been very, very triggered. So if you have become very sensitive to the sound of neighbours' dogs barking, it doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to be this way. There is help available, and the aim that I have in my practice isn't to make you love barking. It's to help you to help your nervous system to stop responding as though every single bark requires an emergency response. You may not be able to control the dog, but over time you may notice you have more control than you think over the way you react. So if you struggle with the sound of dog barking, you're very welcome to click on some of the links below. I have posted a link to my website. If you want to have a chat with me, there's a link to my calendar where you can book a free consultation. And also there's a link to a free guided relaxation called Safe Around Sound, which I hope will be a good first step to helping you to relax a bit more. And if your sound sensitivity is significantly affecting your life and you'd like individual support, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll be back with another video a bit later on this week. Bye for now.